Hi everyone and welcome back to WARNO. As I said in my little community post, I thought I would do a new deck building video. The reason for that is someone had asked about it because the screen's changed obviously. They've made it more like it was in Wargame, which I like. I think it's better this way and everything's a little bit easier to access. Now I've just randomly picked the 39th Infantry Division for the Russians, mainly because it's got a nice selection of units right now. And it's basically a tank division as well because it gets really good tanks. What more can I say? So the first thing is your logistics tab. It's up to you what you go with. I don't like choppers, so I would never take a command chopper personally. They are pretty cheap here though. I would be looking more at these two. Here you've got a lot of weapon systems on there. It's a bit more expensive. Do you really need that on a command vehicle? For me, it's not going to be engaging anything really, so the answer is no, I don't really want that. I'm looking more at this guy here. Now, something to note is because of the changes I've made, you no longer select the veterancy here. It's actually once you add it to that card up there. So if I add the BTR, you'll see that I can't actually change it in this case because it's a command unit and most of the command units can't be changed. But here you would now click experienced, poor, trained, veteran, elite, okay? Then you want some, well, I'd take 2 cards of supply because there are no fobs. So I would take 1 armoured supply just because it's handy if you're on the front line just to give it some protection. It's only got 500 supply. And then you've got these guys which obviously have just over double that supply at 1,100. But I would take a squad of those and a squad of those, and I know you can take different levels of this one, but just take trained. They're not going to be entering combat, that's not the point of them. You want as many as possible. Bear in mind that you only get 9 and 9. That's not a lot of supply for a long game. You could take another one, but I'd save your points for now and move on to infantry. So this is an infantry deck. You have access to a lot of infantry. Now, one of the most amazing things that this particular division has are the BMP3s, and unlike Wargame Red Dragon, the BMP3s can fire both of their guns at once. So it's not just the case that it fires its main cannon or its autocannon, it will fire both, and they are genuinely devastating against infantry squads. So, with that in mind, first thing I'm going to do is add a commander. You can either have a Mutstrelki commander, which 125 points, same as the Sapri commander. Now the big difference here is the weapon systems. It's whether you want the RPG, which is 18 penetration, 705 meter range, versus 15 penetration, 530 meter range. Now, realistically, it's a command unit. You're not going to be engaging in combat, and they cost the same. So now I'd be looking at the vehicles. So you have a much more restricted set of vehicles with the Sapri commander compared to the Mutstrelki commander. I mean, strength is 4 for them both, so it really doesn't matter. I'd be tempted to take the BMP3. Now that increases the cost significantly, so this is the trade-off. But it does mean you get another BMP3, and the BMP3s are very good. So you can then take that and move it to the front line. So I'd actually take the Mutstrelki commander with a BMP3. You can actually see now as well that you get to see the vehicle at this side. So you can select that, or you can select the actual Mutstrelki. If we add it to there, and if I click on it, you can see the Mutstrelki details, and then you click on the BMP3, you can see the BMP3 details. Now, it's hard to switch between these two at the moment. Ideally, it would be nice if you could just click on it to switch it, but you can't. You have to just click back on the unit to switch to it, and then back on the vehicle. What vehicle you choose to take is completely up to you. The reality is that I find in WARNO I have plenty of points most of the time, so I'm not put off by increasing the cost of that to 180 by adding the BMP3, but that's a personal choice. You might prefer just to take the cheap vehicle that you can send back to get refunded. That's completely up to you. Then you got your Mutstrelki BMPs. You're going to take the BMP3 straight away. No question about that. Just get that added. Now, when it comes to the rank that you're taking in, it's sort of up to you. So if I click on it and click on the BMP3, for example, this is a trained BMP3. Accuracy 40%, 40%, 45% there. You know, it's all okay. They have really nice missiles, by the way. But let's increase it to veteran. So we get 46, we get 50, and we get 56. And we can do elite. Now, you've increased your accuracy on the BMP3 a massive amount by making it elite. But the reality is, this isn't about the BMP3, it's about the infantry. And you want as many as possible in the grand scheme of things. Now, you've got loads of slots, so I'm not saying take trained. I'd actually take veteran. And I'd take them in the BMP3. And that's 95 points, which isn't horrendous. Bearing in mind that everything is doubled in price compared to Wargame Red Dragon, technically. So, I'd take those. I'd take another set of those with BMP3s. I just add them in. Remember, this is 6, so that's 12 total. That's still a good amount of infantry. Other Motorstrelki you could bring in. Motorstrelki Metis, obviously. They have the Metis launcher. I think it's well worth bringing those in as well. You can bring them in a BMP-1 or an MTLB. Now, the BMP-1 has its missiles. And right now, missiles are pretty good in the game. Though nothing compares to the Bradley for the Americans, obviously. But I certainly would consider bringing them in the BMP-1. But if you're wanting some cheaper infantry, bring them in the MTLB. And that's probably what I'll do here. Is just to keep the cost down a little bit for now, is bring a squad in like that. You could also consider lowering them to trained. That accuracy is 55. Veteran, it makes it 68. So actually, on second thoughts, 82. I think the increase to 68 is pretty good. From 55 to 68. I'd probably stick with veteran. I mean, I could live with 55 on those missiles because that's what these guys are for. The Metis are, the Motorstrelki Metis specifically, they're for their Metis missile, really. But we'll stick with veteran. It's a balancing act. It depends how much infantry spam you want. Now, I'm going to move on from the Motorstrelki briefly, and we're going to have a look at the Sappery. So these guys get satchel charges. I've honestly not used the satchel charges much. They have increased the range now. Now, they're supposed to be very good at clearing buildings and things, but I've not really seen them that much in action using their little satchel charges. So I'd probably consider adding them, but what I'm definitely going to add first are the Sappery RPOs. Now you can bring them in either vehicle. The nice thing is you get a little bit of fire support with that one, but realistically it's not anti-vehicle. And with the Sappery RPO you've already got a lot of anti-infantry. Let me just add that and we'll have a look at them again. So there's the RPO. Accuracy 50%. Only 39% when you drop it down. Now, they don't get many shots, is a big issue. Right now, what I should say as well, and I was going to probably save it till the end, but I'll just mention it now since I'm talking about weapons. Right now, the accuracy on machine guns is apparently very high. Now, I haven't been specifically able to verify this myself, but apparently they're like laser beams right now. They are incredibly accurate. I'm sure that will be getting patched, though. So, with these guys, you know, 15 points, and you can sell them versus something with a gun. Do you want that support? Really, the Sappery will probably be going into towns and forests. A little bit of fire support can be helpful for them. So I'd probably consider taking them in that. Now, when it comes to these guys, you only get one deck. Oh, one card, I should say, sorry. I'd probably consider taking trained. I know that reduces the accuracy to 39%. But it's 6 squads versus 4 squads. That's really... Oh, I'm... That's difficult. I'm not sure how much the extra accuracy is worth it compared to having 2 extra squads to be able to bring in. So I'd probably take them in trained, but that would require a bit of testing, I think. I'd probably also take them in with the transport with the guns. it's completely up to you. There's a little bit of benefit to it in that it's fire support, but I don't know, it's a difficult one. So I will take them as is like that for now. The Sapri, again, I'm in two minds. I don't know how good the satchel charges are. I'd stick them in and have a go with them. I'd probably be taking these guys into buildings and things more than anything else. Not sure how much. They have penetration 4, so they'll probably destroy little vehicles. Again, you could take them in with the BTR-60 for a little bit of fire support. So I'll stick those guys in. Do I take trained or veteran for those? Well, I'd probably just take veteran. You still get 6. I'd probably go for veteran. Now there's loads of points left. So you've got these guys, which are 30. You've got a nice RPG 29, which is better. That's in fact the best RPG these guys get. It's got a great accuracy. The range is pretty good as well. So these guys I'd definitely be taking. They'd be quite good against vehicles, good in towns, good in the forest against incoming tanks and things. Only a strength of 4. Now there's a difficulty with them. So these guys, good for defending positions perhaps because of the absolutely fantastic RPG 29, but only a strength of 4, so not the best unit in the game. I just bring them in the Gaz. I will add them though, because I think it's worth it for those missiles. And again, trained for 6 of them. Out of interest, what happens if we go to veteran? 104% accuracy. I'm really not convinced that the accuracy on this page really truly represents the accuracy in, you know, the game itself. There's something not quite right about the numbers on here. Stick with veteran. You get 6 of them. They'll be great for defending areas against incoming vehicles. Loads of points left. Maybe wouldn't fill the 3.1, but I'd certainly fill the 2 points. So we've got 3 commanders. You could bring in potentially some more infantry commanders. More Motorstrelky BMPs in a BMP3. Just why not? Have as many of them as you like. Standard Motorstrelky. I mean, the big difference is there is the vehicle they're coming in with. I mean, other than that, the stats are pretty much the same. I think they've got 1 less unit. Yeah, so strength is 7 for the BMP ones, 8 for the other guys. Good for filling a town. Why not? Bring him in a Gaz. Some cheap options of infantry. Why not? Stick them in. 6. Would I even consider doing that? Oh wow, look at the RPK 74 there. Accuracy 96%. 99%. 99% on elite. Just bring them in trained right now. That's hilarious. That is genuinely hilarious. Is that is the same across the board? So right now, for the sake of the machine gun, you could probably just bring everything in trained, but I'm building the deck on the basis they're going to fix that, I suppose. But just bring in some standard Motorstrelky, 9 of them trained, job done. Now, loads of BMP3s, which are awesome. You got some cheaper infantry there. You got cheap infantry there that are good against vehicles. Job done. Let's move on. Artillery, well, completely up to you what you bring. My advice is avoid the Grad. It's just a Grad. It doesn't seem to do a huge amount in this game. Certainly get the Uragan. Really good unit. I wouldn't bother bringing it in trained. Veteran. I'd bring it in trained because it's it's to spam an area, and that way you get 2 of them. Out of these 2, I mean, it's up to you. Really, you're looking at the HE power. The Akatassia is slightly better in HE power. I'd probably stick that in. Again, trained. You don't need veteran on these things. It's not worth it. Do you want to spam RT? Sure, why not? Bring some more Uragans. They're good at the moment. Whether they get adjusted again is up for debate, but these things will do damage to tanks. They will do, you know, on a direct hit, they are very effective. And the more you have, the more you saturate an area. Let's move on to tanks. So, this is an infantry deck, but it gets really good tanks. So, first thing to say is get yourself a command tank, well worth having in a deck. Again, you can't change its veterancy, but it doesn't matter. T64 BV. Yes, you want that card. You can't change its veterancy, but you get 6 of them. Really good tank. T80 BV, again, reasonably good tank. 18 penetration. Reasonable armor. Get it in there. At the moment, I think these guys are too expensive. They have a decent range, certainly. Especially the Sherturm with the Concon. But and its accuracy is pretty good if you take it veteran. They're just expensive. They don't have much armor. Why take that when you could take a tank? I mean, you know, the missiles are good, but I'd rather have another set of T80 BVs, and then I'd take yourself some slightly cheaper. I was going to say take some T80 Bs because they're slightly cheaper, but they're not that much cheaper, really, are they, in the grand scheme of things? And they're very similar. How many do we get? We get 6 if we take them in as veterans. Maybe for the sake of that. And then we've still got some activation points there, so screw it. Let's take some more T80 BVs. Plenty of tanks, decent tanks at that. Right, Recon. So, what you're looking for with Recon is the optics and stealth. Radvedska. Optics good, stealth exceptional. Radvedska standard, optics very good, stealth exceptional. Radvedska heavy is because they get the big machine gun. Wait, they have a big machine gun as well. I'm confused now. Is it just because there's more of them in a squad? Yes, it's because there's 4. Now, optics very good is better. So I'd actually take the Radvedska. They only come in 1 vehicle. Now, experience level. I'm not sure experience level makes any difference in WARNO to Recon units. Now, it made a difference in Wargame in that veterancy allowed them to acquire targets faster, so the optics saw what the unit was faster the higher they were ranked. But I don't think here it makes any difference, so you might as well bring in trained, and then you get 12, and spamming Recon is a good thing. Get them to the front lines, turn off their weapons, and just let them see what's going on. There's the Grenzer as well. Very good optics, exceptional stealth. That's actually better than the Radvedska heavies, because they only have good optics. So I'd actually probably take those guys. Just have a card of those as well. They only come in as trained, but that's fine. BRM1 has exceptional optics, so this is what the other thing you're looking for. Up here you've got that thing which is 30 points, it just has good and mediocre. That's got exceptional and mediocre. Anything with exceptional optics is good in my book. You could take the chopper as well, which also has exceptional. I tend to get them shot down a lot. I'd take the BRM1. Again, I'd just take trained. I don't think there's any real benefit to taking more than trained for this, unless there is something hidden that we don't know about it yet. Let's move on. We're at 33 points. Let's go for AntiAir. So, this is completely personal choice what you want to take and what you want to faff around with. I'd take some Iglas just because they're good for sticking in buildings still. They still need a little bit of adjustment in how they can see units, but they're also good for just sticking next to your artillery or whatever and providing a little bit of defense. Good against choppers. So I'd stick some of those in. Now, if we just click on them, in terms of their accuracy, I mean, Elite puts their accuracy up to 82%, which is pretty good. I'd probably take them as veteran. It means you still get 8 of them, and they're pretty cheap. Then you've got the Strela, the other Strela, and the OSA, which is radar. So, much like in Wargame, you need to be aware of radar anti-air. Radar anti-air can be shot at by seaplanes which have homing missiles which destroy them. If your radar is switched on, so if that weapon is switched on, when the plane goes past, it will launch a missile, and even if you turn it off, the missile will still hit. So this is all about babysitting. You need to be able to turn on and off the weapons on these vehicles if you're going to use them. Otherwise, they're going to get destroyed very easily. Biryusa is the same. It is basically a shilka. Again, radar. But it can fire at ground targets, obviously. So, up to you what you prefer to bring. And then you've got the Cub, which has very long range, not the best accuracy though. At the moment, I'd be taking certainly some Strellas. Whether you take these ones or these ones, you get 8 missiles there instead of just 4. It's got better accuracy, the ranges are much different. I'd probably take 120.1. Just again, I don't really have issues in terms of money. The Cub isn't very accurate, and it was very, very bad when the game first released. I don't know if they've improved it. I've not actually had it in the deck and played with it. So, it's up to you. I'd certainly consider getting the OSA, because I think that's very good, and it has good accuracy. If you click on it and have a look, Elite 62%, I think you can probably, sorry, 82. I think you can probably stick with Veteran and go for 68. I think that's fine. Then, I'm 37 points of 50, and I've got Helos and Air to go. Whether I'd take the Cub, I don't know. Biryushas, they're very good. They have a very good accuracy, even, you know, more so than is perhaps demonstrated here, I think. They're good against choppers, they're good against aircraft, they just don't have the range of the Cub. I'd possibly take the Cub, just as a little bit of a test. For me personally at this point. But if I was just generally building this deck, and at the risk of the Cub not working, I'd probably take the Biryusa. So I'll stick that in for now, because that's technically what I would take. You only get 2 of them there. That drops you actually to 45% if you take it as trained. You only get 2 of them. That's disappointing. How many Cubs do you get? 1. Not very good availability for the anti-air units there. I think that needs a rethink. Helos. There are some good Helos here. Helos are very good in Wargame Red Dragon. They are still very good in WARNO. You know, there's no point in doing a chopper rush in WARNO because, you know, the enemy base no longer has a commander in it. It's just a place to bring in units. Big rockets are good. I mean, sort of personal choice to some extent here, I think. It's what you prefer to play with. You could just take those because they're cheap and they've got lots of big rockets. You've got this, which is the 24 VP, obviously very good against ground targets. It's got the rockets, it's got a cannon, and it's got a missile system, the Concons, which are very good. Oh, I've added that without really meaning to, but that's got 16 Concon missiles, which is good. But it's very expensive as a result. This one has a cannon, not as good a cannon though. 23 mil versus 12. It's more of a big machine gun. Less Concon missiles and 18 mil rockets. The anti-air one, I'd probably consider taking anti-air. I think anti-air is worth it. That's very cheap. That's basically the same as that, but with less missiles because it's got bigger missiles and less Concon missiles. But otherwise it's the same, so I'd actually add that. And would I consider taking the anti-air one? Possibly not. Let's move on to air and come back to that perhaps. So aircraft. Again, this is sort of up for debate what you prefer to bring in. Right now, clusters are very good. The SU-24 cluster is really good. It is very accurate in the sense that its cluster of bombs, when its spread pattern is very tightly packed. So I'd definitely be taking that with me. Take it as a veteran. You don't need elite. Napalm aren't spectacular. They're not spectacular in Wargame Red Dragon either. They're not spectacular here. HE bomber, definitely, again, very close bombs. Get that stuck in there. You've got very limited options for anti-air. It's basically the MiG-23 MLA. And it's better than nothing, so I would take it. And I'd just take, again, just take veteran. And then it's up to you whether you want to take more anti-air or take more bombers. Personally, I would take the ATGM plane because there will be a point where you want to kill a tank or something with it. So I would add that in. Now what we don't have yet is a seed plane here, but they are adding seed planes for the Soviets, so watch this space, but I'm pretty sure it's not been added yet. I'll just have a quick look through. I think it's all, yeah, not as yet. I think it'll be coming with the next patch, hopefully. So that's 48. So we have 2 points left to play with. There's nowhere we can spend 2 points. Or we could do Recon. So now you got a decision to make, is whether you do more Recon, and Recon is always important, and more Recon is not a bad thing, or do you take Helos? Specifically anti-air Helos. Do you have enough anti-air is the question you need to ask yourself. You got 18 pieces of anti-air. You got 24 Recon. That's challenging. I'm sort of umming and ahhing over the Radvedska Heavy in an Mi-8T. Because it's got extra missiles, so you're getting a chopper and more Recon. I'm going to do that. Chopper and more Recon. And then I'm going to switch them to, again, trained. Because that's just more choppers. That's 6 choppers instead of 4. Fine. So that's our deck. Let's name it deck build 39th Inf patch 6. And if we just go back, so logistics, we've got the BTR-60 command. We've got 2 sets of supply. You could, if you want to, just bring Urals, but I like that for the fact it's a little bit armoured and the pricing isn't bad. Infantry, Motostraki Commander, but you could take either. That's completely up to you. I took that because I want more BMP3s. And then I've got Motostraki BMP3 times 3. Sorry, there's one along there, but I have 3 sets of those. Motostraki Metis in an MTLB. BTR-60 with Sapri RPO. Standard Sapri in a BTR-60 just for some more cheap options. These guys. The Otdelany Poderziki. Sorry, Russian speakers, I butchered that. Very good against anti-vehicle, great for sitting in buildings and things. And then some Motostraki and a gas at the end there just for some cheap infantry options. Artillery, I've gone for 2 sets of Uragans and the Aktasia. Tanks, T-80 BVK command tank, only one of them, but that's enough. If you lose it, you lose it. Just bring in some infantry. Then we've got T-64 BVs, T-80 BVs, more T-80 BVs, more T-80 BVs, and some T-80 Bs for cheap options. I like to bring them in as veteran, because if they're then stood next to the command tank, they get boosted to elite. Personal preference, you can bring them in however you want. Recon, little bit of a selection. Standard Radvedska, Grenzes, BRM-1 for its exceptional sights or optics, and Radvedska Heavy for the fact that they have the chopper with rockets as well. Anti-air selection of Manpads, Iglas, Strelas, Osas and Biryusas. Bear in mind again that both the Osa and the Biryusa need to be babysat. They are radar units. Helicopters, I've gone for 2 helicopter units. I've gone for 2 very expensive helicopter units. That for the fact it's got a big ass cannon on it, along with a lot of missiles, so it'd be good versus tanks, but it's expensive. You're gonna have to babysit it. And then obviously the Mi-24 rocket. Now the problem is there isn't a lot of availability here. You'll notice you only get 1 of each, so use them sparingly and you will have to babysit them. Air units, Su-24Ms, by far the best bombers in the game right now. MiG-23 because it's the only option, and an Su-25 ATGM because it's the only ATGM plane you get, and it's reasonably good and has some armor. So that's the deck. Hopefully that was helpful. I realised that really the only thing that's changed is the screen and knowing what to click on. There's a couple of things like I wish you could click on the infantry, click on a member of the infantry and then click onto the vehicle without having to click the vehicle there, you know? I'd like to just be able to click the little bit that's sticking out there and switch to it, but it's a by the by. You can still edit your combat groups here, pretty much the same as it was before. I don't really do that, but you know, if that's your thing and you want to have preset stuff, great. There's no reason not to do that. Now, if I click close on that and I click save, I'm pretty sure we can actually see it now. So if I find patch 6, there you go. So you can actually have a look at the whole deck now on this screen. So I hope that was helpful for the person who asked about deck building in this version of the game. As I say, it's not changed completely, it's just the layout's changed more than anything else. And yes, there's been some adjustments to units and things, but just build your deck how you want. Experiment with units because they're still changing the fundamentals of the game, so things are going to keep changing, and you know, every time I put out one of these videos within a couple of weeks it's going to be pretty useless. That's why I haven't done a lot of tutorial videos for the game yet. But I hope that was helpful. Thanks very much for watching. Please, as always, like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you all soon for some more Wargame.